both born in Kenya.
That's
Both
right.
originally from Goa.
Correct.
Roots in Salvador del Mundo.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and the similarities end there.
Yeah. We're true Salwakars.
Yeah, man, astonishing. I've come from Goa, and the lockdown has brought us together, actually.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
When did we last meet? No.
This would have been about 15 years ago when I met you opposite the shop in
Shop.
Salvador del Mundo. God's gift shop.
Absolutely, that was right.
Yeah.
Yeah, God, I remember that. Still.
Bruno D'Souza's shop, and I was like astounded to see you on the road there.
Yeah. And how did you know that I was the person from Marius' house?
No, because Bruno told me he's come, Mr. Maciel, but you're world famous in Salvador del Mundo.
Oh, God. But nothing to be famous. I'm just an ordinary guy.
Yeah. So anyway, so one thing that's always been intriguing, Mom used to tell me when we were young, that there was I don't know if it's your family or somebody from Salvador del Mundo had gone to Africa on a steamer, or an aeroplane, I don't know what it was, and I don't know if the steamer sank and a lot of people had died from Salvador.
No, this is my dad.
Oh.
I lost 5. If you read my book,
Okay.
but I'll tell you the story.
Yeah.
My dad, I lost my mom very young, when I was very young. My dad remarried,
Yeah.
and they were going back to Kenya after
From Goa.
from Goa. He had come on the usual 6 months leave,
Yeah.
and going back to Kenya. And I tell you, as good luck or bad luck, on the train from Goa to Bombay, one of their trunks was broken into,
Oh.
and gold, which was my mother's,
Yeah.
was stolen. And my uncle in Bombay said to my dad, "Why don't you cancel this trip? Because we can complain and take this to the police."
Yeah.
And my dad said, "Look, I've already taken extension of leave. I can't. I have to go." It was yesterday.
Yeah.
We were hardly 5 days out of Bombay. Boat was torpedoed by the Japanese.
Oh.
I lost 5 people.
So Second World War or first?
Second World War. This is
Second World War. So on that.
This was in 1942.
So this was a steamer.
SS Tilawa. That was the steamer. Tilawa.
And
If you look up on the internet,
Yeah,
SS Tilawa, you'll get.
So from from Bombay, it went to Kenya. On its way to Kenya.
Yeah.
And who was there? Your dad?
My dad,
Yeah.
stepmother,
Stepmother?
step sisters, and stepbrother.
Oh.
Now, how young they were.
Yeah.
The stepsister was 5.
Oh, wow.
The stepbrother was 1 year.
Oh.
And
so
the other
very-
stepsister was 3 months.
Oh.
How old were you?
I was 12, I think, at the time.
So how come you were not there?
Boy, we were studying in Belgium.
Ah.
You see what had happened? My elder brother, when he became a priest, he and I were studying in Belgium. Okay? Now, my younger brother, Wilfred, came with my dad, and my dad wanted to take him back. We said to Dad, "Look, we two are here. Why did you leave him with us?"
Wow.
And to sheer destiny,
Wow.
he was left with us, and that's why he
So
survived.
you were in Belga at St. Paul's?
St. Paul's, yeah.
Yeah, famous.
Yeah.
Yes,
St.
good.
Paul's. I didn't do my matric from there,
Yeah.
because what happened when my elder brother finished his matric and wanted to join the priest, he moved us to Goa. He said, so I went to St. Thomas's in Aldona,
Yes, not far from Saloi.
and I went from there. I finished school.
Oh, so that is the story. So my mom sort of knows
Yeah,
the background because
I
there's a
bet
very
you.
famous incident that had happened.
that they all, anyone remembers us if we say we are the children of Marcial who died at sea,
So-
because that was the only passenger boat that was torpedoed.
Yeah. And
know?
how many passengers do you think were on that boat?
Oh, must be more, about 300 or 400.
Wow.
In fact, if you go on the internet, you give the whole passenger list,
Of the people.
the survivors and those who drowned. My dad's and all in
But
that
people
list.
survived.
Quite a few. And the sad part, there's several brides from Goa going.
Yeah, first time. to
First
Africa.
time they were going.
Yeah, it was
is
a
very
big
tragic,
thing in
very
those days.
Of course, we were young, I said 12 years still. We were young to appreciate the implication of that, how we became orphans overnight. There were a lot of rumors that they were taken prisoners of war in Saigon,
Yes.
and some said they were still, so many survivors were brought into Bombay hospitals.
Okay.
And my uncle went from hospital to hospital to check,
Yeah.
and as good luck would have it, he came across a cabin boy, and the cabin boy told my uncle they didn't survive because he said my dad was walking with the youngest 3-month-old on the top deck
Yeah.
when the first torpedo was fired.
Yes.
So he rushed down to wake up my stepmother and the other two little to bring
Up.
By the time he came up, the boats
Gone.
were all full. You know, when you want to save your life, you don't care whether you're first class or deck,
No.
they fill the boats.
Yeah.
And then a second torpedo was fired,
Brought
ship went
everybody
down.
down.
So
Okay.
that's
So at least you all know what had happened. Yeah.
we know from
the
first-hand knowledge of this, people like that, you know.
Okay.
But it's very sad. Okay, we didn't appreciate the full import.
Yeah.
We were too young to appreciate. But now we know exactly what it was. And what I would say, my dad always said, I'll come back soon, because he was going just to finish a couple of years and come back and retire to Goa, you know. We never knew this. And to tell you the fact, we never knew how we were going to be supported.
Yeah. So she has that connection that something happened in your family, something happened in our family.
Right.
Yeah. So it says here the British ocean liner Lusitania was sunk by the German U-boat. In May 1915, the Lusitania was returning from New York to Liverpool with 1,959 passengers.
Good loss.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Within 20 minutes, the Lusitania had sunk and 1,198 people were drowned.
God, loss.
Yeah, so a lot of them drowned, about few hundred survived. And the few hundred was my mom's father, one of them.
God.
Yeah, so
That's your grandfather.
yeah, when we got the medal was now in 1976.
Good heavens. Yeah.
It arrives, 70 years
But
later
it's
to
so
the right
wonderful.
address. And after that, our grandfather, we found medals sent by the Queen because for
Really?
bravery he rescued many people in that.
In that ship.
Yeah.
Really. So
And-
I never knew about this. Thank
Yeah.
you. It's a wonderful story.
Yeah.
Well, sad, but
Yeah.
but also it's
100
good that he
years.
survived.
But it's a 100-year story which has not been told.
Yeah.
So these stories
Needs to be told.
in
Needs to be
future.
told.
So my children and family are now getting all interested in
Wonderful.
all these
I'm
things.
so glad, Gemma, that you're interested in this thing. All the stories will be lost if we don't tell them. If you know.
So these 2-3 things she tells me, and then the third one she tells me was when she married in 1958,
Right.
arrives in Mombasa, and now you tell me
That's my uncle.
your uncle,
Yeah. Oh,
he's to come and
just to call him Lucifer.
Lucy.
Because when he came to Goa, the whole village knew him. He used to drink a lot and go about. He had come from it. He was in Abyssinia,
Ethiopia.
you know, and he came back with loads of ammunition because he was like a quartermaster.
Yeah.
Ammunition, guns,
Yeah.
and he used to go about. There was another chap in Salwe called Goan from beyond our place. You know, Givardkar's place beyond that.
Yeah.
Zhuang and he would go shooting pigs.
Oh, wild boar.
Not wild boars. They said wild boars. I'll tell you this now. He killed a pig and got my granny and Mari to clean it all up and suddenly to the bodyguard. You know?
Yeah, yeah.
What happened in the evening? A lady comes, a Goan lady comes, swearing the typical Goan litany of expletives, you know? Because it was her pig that was slaughtered, you know.
It was a common
But this
thing
was
then.
the man. He
didn't
was
care.
up to all sort of nonsense.
He didn't care, okay.
He was. We used to call him the black sheep of our family. Just the opposite of my dad, like you know. I don't think he had any education as such. He could mutter a few words of English, mostly in Konkani all the time, you know. But his personality was very tall, fair.
Oh, wow.
You could mistake him for an Italian.
Oh, really?
And he used to go in white shorts and white.
Oh,
always,
wow.
You know, so they used to think he's the boss. He had nothing to do. And he used to penalize some of these Goans if they
Yeah.
didn't bring him a bottle. How many bottles could he drink, But that was the man. Like.
Yeah, so mom always remembers, she said, I arrived in
Oh, no,
Mombasa
yeah.
on my wedding day, and I was astonished. Marcial welcomes me at the harbour.
He was great. He was
Yeah, she's
great.
like, welcome him at the harbour.
Yeah.
So we met in Salwa de Moon about 15, 20 years ago, but
Yeah.
I always knew about you because of my mom.
Right.
I always
right.
talk about you, and then my granny and my aunties
Yeah.
always
Right.
talk.
Right. Yeah.
And being in Salva de Moon,
Small,
very,
yeah.
and everybody knows each
Absolutely.
other.
Yeah.
I left here in the year 2000 to go back to Goa. So like my grandfather,
Yeah.
So like my grandfather who came from Goa, from Africa to Goa and back to Africa.
Goa, yeah.
I now come from Kenya to Goa to study for 2 years. Mom to put us in Diwar school. That's where we learned Konkani.
Yeah.
Then come to
fantastic.
England. Then I take my children, Ashley and Gemma, back to Goa in the year 2000 for
Fantastic.
them to learn Konkani. So like my grandfather, so I must have something in common with him because
Absolutely.
he
The
traveled.
pull of Goa, he must have told you, go back there and finish the job that I couldn't finish,
Yeah, so
You've done a marvelous job, Marius. I must say, you've done a marvelous job,
So
Reading through your book
yeah,
and the accolades from so many different people, like, who's that? Alexis, the
Alexis,
cartoonist.
yeah, Clarice is in
Clarice,
there. Sanjeev
so many others
Sanderson.
there, and there's an
Yeah.
Englishman who knew you in Leicester. I
Yeah,
forget his
Steve
name.
White, he's still there. Yeah, football. But I not only did football, we did Konkani Theatre
Fantastic.
Festival.
No, you've done. I wish I had that energy. If I were a few years younger, I would love to team up with you and come and do something like
No,
that.
no, we can
Honestly,
still do.
I'd love to do that.
No, we can still do because lots of that should be documented and written
Yeah,
for future generations now.
absolutely.
We've done our social responsibility.
Absolutely, yeah.
And need to inspire the next generation.
Very,
And,
very true. Very true. Very true.
And you've got it. I
Yeah.
mean, you've got in you to write. I can see you still got it.
Oh no, I love it.
Yeah.
Anything.
Another thing now. So one thing that we really have in common is I was born in Kenya in Lare,
Yeah.
and you were born in
Nairobi.
Nairobi.
Yeah.
Okay. So you were born. So your parents were there before you, or
Yeah, my parents. Yeah, but Dad went there.
yeah.
Like most Goans
Yeah.
for jobs, you got
Yeah.
a job straight away.
So that brings us nicely to my grandparents now.
Yeah.
Matthias Xavier Fernandes.
That's
So
right.
Matthias is my my grandfather. My dad is Bernard Matthias.
Right. Yeah.
I'm Marius Matthias.
Right.
My brother is Matthias.
Great,
So we
great.
all got that name.
Very
So
good,
Tells
very
us that we come from Samathia.
Very good tradition.
So what is your first memory of our grandfather? You met Maria.
of your grandfather? Oh yeah.
MX and Marie.
They used to call him Moti
Moti.
Fernandes, MX Fernandes. My recollection of him is, for his age, he must have been in his 50s maybe then. He was a sprightly man, always game for going on picnics.
Oh.
He loved going on picnics.
Really?
And in the frontier, you had no comfortable cars or even Land Rovers in those.
Yeah.
You had to go on these trucks.
Yes.
But he never minded sitting on the back of the truck on maybe sacks of posho or whatever, He was game for it, and that impressed me. I must have been about 20,
Yeah.
something, But it impressed me. And we used to both walk together, and whenever we
Yeah.
got us somewhere, we both would talk. And he talked to me in Concrete, we both talked in Concrete.
Okay.
I used to love his conversations,
Yeah.
And he was he could keep the party going.
Oh, wow.
I can't remember him singing, but
Right.
I think, I'm thinking of food. I know he used to sometimes carry stuff off you, not sandwich. I think we had more than sandwiches in those days, So yeah, he's a great chap.
Yeah.
And a paragraph I've included in my book is the debt I owe your grandparents for what they did to me and my new wife. We came on a honeymoon,
Which year?
1952.
Oh wow.
We came on a honeymoon.
Where?
We were married in Kitale, which is in
Kitale,
the Highlands, okay? And I was stationed at Marsabit.
Marsabit, yeah.
Elsie had never seen Marsabit. She was a town girl,
Yes.
and now she was going to the wilds.
Yeah.
And I just wondering how she's going to
Survive
cope
there,
there.
yeah.
But lo and behold, on the train from Nairobi to Nanyuki, suddenly at Nyeri, we saw your Uncle John.
Oh, so you knew them?
Oh, I knew that. I knew
Yeah.
John, Thomas, and
Oh,
your father,
Bernard,
Bernard, and Martha as well. I knew
Yeah.
them all. And John and another friend, Victor de Lima,
Yeah, Victor.
arrived there and said, "Oh, get out here, we have come to take you." From Nyeri, instead
Oh.
of going to Nek,
What's up?
they came to take us.
Yeah.
So, God, this is a big surprise, pleasure. And they drove us all the way to Isiolo. And John says, "You can stay here." I said, you know, your grandparents had what they call in those a mabati, which is a tin roof shop,
tin house,
you know.
Yeah, shop.
And to put us up there, I said, "How are you going to put us up?" You know, I was terribly embarrassed in the sense I'm putting them up to law. And when we went and they showed us the room they prepared, I tell you, I could have cried with joy in a way, like for what they must have gone through.
Yeah.
And I mentioned in my book
Uh-huh.
that room that they prepared for this honeymoon couple surpassed any honeymoon suite in the best hotels in the world. You know? That, they had done it with love.
Yeah.
And I felt terribly grateful. Not only that, the next day, to celebrate our wedding, they invited all the Goans from Isiolo.
Isiolo.
Yeah, Isiolo
That's where they
Isiolo was the headquarters of the northern province. You know?
Yes, yes.
And that's where your grandparents had their shop.
Yes, yes, yes.
Famous people like Stuart Granger and all used to shop there, you know, when they
The
were
Hollywood stars,
yeah,
Stuart Granger.
when they were filming.
Uh,
And your uncle John and your father Bernard, they used to mostly manage the shop. But
Okay.
John was, what shall I say, he was quite well. He could get on well with people.
Yeah.
He knew how to talk to
Yeah,
people, get on.
yes.
So he was very, very good there.
So what did they have in the shop then?
It was a general store,
Oh.
like a supermarket here. They had food and wine, everything,
Really?
drinks, and oh yeah. And all the Europeans and all the Goans shopped there.
Oh, wow.
And I don't know if you know this, Mario, because in the frontier, we had no shops as you know them today. All our provisions during the rainy season had to come by air. So we had to, no telephones and all, but there was what they call a police signals, you know, you could send signals. So I used to send to your Uncle Thomas was the transport officer of Isiolo.
Oh, wow.
So anything he needed, you had to see Thomas, you know.
Oh, wow.
So I used to send signals to Thomas. I say if I want crate of beer, I want orange juice, whatever. So this is how it used to happen, like, you know. So you place your order, and then MX Fernandes would, you
Keep
know,
the things
put it
ready.
all in a box, send it to you, and it was an invoice system. You never paid cash, and at the end of the month they would send you a statement.
Oh, wow.
And the Goans, being honest people, used to pay on the dot. But some of the English people never pay their bills, you see.
Yeah.
That's true, that's true.
Then where did they get their produce for the shop, I wonder?
They used to also import it from Nairobi, everything, you know.
They used to import?
Everything had to come from Nairobi. Butter, cheese, what the English wanted. Butter, cheese, bacon, eggs,
Oh, my God.
booze, Turnbull could
So
finish.
this is what our grandparents did?
Absolutely, absolutely.
It's amazing.
You know, the Scots are noted for their Scot, and Turnbull could finish half a bottle at night. So he must have bought a lot of Scotch from them.
From them.
Plus, there was a brandy called Mellowwood, which is a South African brandy.
Yeah.
Goans also like their whiskey. I might be the only Goan who doesn't like whiskey. I never had a whiskey. My famous tipple is a beer. I like a beer, you know. And we used to order lots of cases of beer.
So I'm just wondering, how did they actually do this? You know?
It's amazing. You have
from
to admire.
Nairobi.
They had everything: chocolates,
Really?
milk, whatever you could get at the supermarket today. Bacon, sausages,
Wow.
everything.
So they catered for the British, really?
Absolutely.
And-
And the Goans, you know, but mostly for the British, like, you know. And when I
So,
said
Dad,
the British,
did you not see the shop when you were born?
I was not there.
There was
So
no-
this was in which year now? 19?
I'm talking 50s, 52.
Yeah, 52. I was born in 59. So
59.
this was-
This 52 we got married, but I was there in the 50s. So it would be in the 50s,
yeah,
and they must have been there before that.
yeah. So it's astonishing that they arrive in Africa and then they run these shops in the jungles, not...
I know.
Not
But your grandparents were very, very poor. There was another Indian shop, Muhammad Moti and Sons,
Yeah.
but they were not as well patronized as your parents' shop. In
Grandparents.
those, of course, I didn't even own a camera, but I'd love to, if I were an artist, to recreate that shop.
Yeah.
It was simple, in the wilderness, like, you know.
Yeah, amazing to have a shop.
The daring of these people, your granddad and your grandmother, to come out to
The
what was the
jungle.
wilds of Africa. It was absolutely wilds.
Yeah,
And to, you know,
to run a shop.
To run a shop and to become so popular.
Pioneers really in there.
Absolute pioneers, absolute pioneers.
Yeah,
It's
in
a
the-
pity many of the people who would have known them better than I do, Europeans,
Yeah.
are no longer alive. Like the governor, you know, Sir Richard Turnbull.
Oh,
He was the provincial commissioner of Isiolo during that time.
Oh, you would
And-
have known them.
Oh, absolutely, he would have known them. He has given the foreword to my book,
Oh,
Sir Richard Turnbull. You know,
Okay.
he ended up as governor of Tanganyika and then governor general,
Wow.
then British High Commissioner in Aden.
Yeah,
You
so
know,
he
was a
passed
great-
away. Yeah.
He passed away here in Scotland, actually. But he would have known your
Yeah.
grandparents very well.
So that attracted the actors from Hollywood at that time because
They were filming, you know.
Yeah,
They were
yeah.
filming on sort of what
Some, yeah.
start Magambo, I think was the name of that
Mugambo,
film.
the film, yeah.
And that's this come there.
The other thing is that was one shop you knew, but they I think ran about 4 or 5 shops eventually in different places.
Is it after?
Yeah.
It must be after I
After
left.
that.
Yeah.
And then my dad as well ran 2-3 shops.
Right, right.
Yeah, the ones that I know, one in Lare.
Larry here.
Yeah, and then they were this. We had to move from that because they had these attacks by shifters.
That's right.
Yeah, so we moved to a place called Kindaruma.
All right, right.
Yeah, then we had a store in Kindaruma. So I got those. I can remember those.
Yeah.
But another thing now is, you were in Kenya, came back to Goa,
Yeah.
studied in Belgaum.
Belgium.
Yeah, so same as my mom. My mom studied in Belgaum as
Right.
well.
St. Joseph's Convent. must be.
Yes, she studied there, and then she went to Kenya after
Right,
her
right.
marriage. So eventually when she came back to Goa in 1970, whatever, she went to Saroditubun because her parents were still alive,
Right, right.
and that's where she met Mari. She used to
Oh,
meet Mari
right,
quite
right.
often. So what story of Mari?
The story of Mary is my eldest uncle worked all his life in Mozambique.
Yeah, Mozambique.
Lawrence Mars.
Yeah,
you know.
Lawrence Market.
They had no children.
Ah,
About 10 years they had no children. So they decided to adopt Mari, who was an orphan. She was just a babe,
yeah,
you know. They adopted her.
yeah.
And with hindsight now, I think it was a bit cruel in a way because they adopted her with the idea that she would look after my grandmother.
Yeah,
You know.
yes, yes.
She looked after us when we were young. Whenever we used to come on holiday, she looked after my eldest son when he was a baby,
Yes, yes.
you know. And she looked after my grandma, and she was an exceptionally good cook.
Yeah,
Her
too
Goa
good.
sausages, I tell you, Murray's sausages.
No, she was very
oh, I
famous in the
dream
village.
of them, you
Yeah,
know.
famous she was.
Sausages and sorpatel and all
So
this
who
chicken
taught
too.
her? Who taught Mari to cook?
Who taught Mari to cook, you think?
My grandmother.
She
My
was-
grandmother was a very good cook, you know.
Yeah,
So
they-
she learned
So your
everything from
that's your dad's?
dad's mother. She was from Porvuri. She was a
Yeah.
Lima from Porvuri.
Oh, Lima's, okay.
Yeah.
So Mari, I know till late. You know,
Yeah.
I know her very well because
Oh,
we
no,
used to
no.
meet her often.
She was, you know,
And she was very possessive of that house. Nobody was
I know,
allowed
I
to
know.
get anywhere near.
absolutely.
Yeah.
She,
looking
you know,
about.
I feel very sorry for her. Very, very sorry. I think of her very often.
Yeah,
And, you know, we should have given her a better life.
yeah, yeah.
But mine, it's
But
not
you all
my-
were abroad, weren't you, at that time?
you were all abroad, yeah.
Yeah, I know that.
So she's from Mozambique then, originally.
She's from Mozambique.
Okay.
Yeah. She was from-
So we had a person in our family as well, but in Kenya.
Yeah?
But I don't know
Oh,
if
Goan?
you ever, yeah, Lena, her name is. I don't know if you ever met her.
No, I don't think I met her.
Yeah, she was. So we are
Postskins, what they used to call in those
we are
days.
postcare, but we're not really sure much about her.
Right.
Yeah, but she's on photos. She
Yeah,
was as big as
ah.
Uncle John and my dad. She was
Right.
there in the photos.
Right, right.
And all of them have passed away for us to now find
know
out who
what,
she
yeah.
was, because she's on the photo.
yeah,
So a
yeah.
little bit we know about her was eventually she met some famous rich Scotsman
Really?
in Nairobi and ended up in Scotland.
Well, that's Carolina is Carolina has married a Scotsman. Carolina,
Who's Karani?
Caroline is the daughter of J.B. Fernandes of Marsabit. Now, J.B. Fernandes married a local woman, one of the tribes,
Okay.
and he had 2 children. One was Dominic, and Carolina was the other one. Very attractive, Somali-like features, in those days. And she married a Scotsman. She lives in, I don't know if she's still
No,
lives
she
in
passed
Scotland.
away. So she's the one.
She's the one, Carolina. I mentioned her in my book as well.
Oh,
Carolina is Carolina Fernandes.
Yeah. So you knew her as Lena, or we?
yeah, I mean Carolina.
Yeah.
That's the one.
Yeah.
Yes,
Oh, so you knew
I
her.
knew her very well. I knew her. I think I might have a photo of her in my book or somewhere.
Yeah.
So she's the
And I
daughter
know
of who?
Dominic. Dominic was the elder brother.
So she was the daughter of.
J.B. Fernandes.
Oh.
J.B. Fernandes ran a transport business between Marsabit and Isiolo.
Oh.
You know, in the frontier, transport was
Yeah.
the most, and he had a shop, J.B.
Amazing.
Fernandes and Sons,
Wow.
like your grandparents' shop.
Oh.
But I think they told, but when he died, his partner, another Goan, Simonis by name, J.B. Simonis, he took over the shop. But unfortunately, Simonis was a bit of a, he loved his bottle, like,
Yeah.
and he married a local, very young girl, like, and had a child whom they named Henry. I can
Oh.
still remember them. His wife, she was a Boran tribe there.
Yeah.
Couldn't have been more than 18, and Simonis was being in his 50s at the
Oh,
time.
at that
like.
time, yeah.
But he was not, because being gone, all the Europeans would give the contract for transport, the contract for supplying rations to the government,
Oh, everything
give it to
the
Goans. But Simonis, in the end, he couldn't do it. He
So
couldn't
we
cook.
were just wondering, how did Carolina end up in our family at that time?
Carolina ended up, when Simonis
Yeah.
was ill, he got quite ill and was taken to Neri Hospital where he died.
Yeah.
That's when Carolina, and I think Dominic might have come over to your grandparents.
Oh, they
That's
adopted
when
them. Oh, wow.
they must have taken them over.
They adopted them.
Must have been. Must
Yeah,
have.
because we got so many photos with her on it, and we were wondering, who is
No,
this?
well, I know Carolina
Yeah.
from when she was a little girl. Like,
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
And then apparently she went to work for this Scotsman, and eventually they got married.
Yeah. She, funny enough, she phoned me up when my first book was published.
Wow.
Because I mentioned her in it, like, and she said, oh no, my mother was not a Somali. She corrected me that,
Yeah.
I think I had said she was Borana. She gave me the right, whether she was Somali or, but she's got very lovely features, like,
This will fill the gaps in our family
Oh
now.
yeah,
you know, when we
Carolina, I know her very well.
Yeah.
She's a very, very attractive girl.
meet.
Very
Yeah,
attractive.
yeah. So our next project is now, after she married, did she have any children in Scotland and all that? Now we'll have to look into it. in
Another
future.
story about Carolina, because she was so attractive, there was a Sri Lankan by the name of Willie Pereira. Have you heard of Willie Pereira?
Yeah, Pereira, no.
He's P-R-E-R-A as opposed to the Goan way of spelling. But he was from Ceylon, the old
Yeah.
Ceylon. And he was very much interested in marrying Carolina. And I think your grandparents were the ones who objected. There's nothing doing that.
Oh,
I think so. That
Yeah.
I get that feeling.
yeah.
So that's the other side of the story.
Amazing story, yeah.
Dominic, Caroline's brother. Dominic, that's Dominic. That's your dad.
Yes.
See all of us there? This is a picnic. Unfortunately, your granddad is not here. It's me playing the mouth organ.
Yeah.
And but I'm sure that's John. Thomas should have been there as well.
And that is, I've seen it.
We used to go out for picnics quite often, like,
Lodge was it? Somewhere in
This was in Samburu Lodge.
Samburu.
Samburu.
Okay.
Another one that's taken at the Wasa-Nero
Yeah.
Game Reserve.
Then I can see my dad there.
Your dad there.
Michael Thomas is there.
Thomas must be there. Granddad.
Yeah, so you're the only connection now to our great granddad.
Yeah, I know them well.
So then my father, Bernard, then me, and now Gemma. So you're being connected to 4 generations.
4 generations, yeah.
And you met both of them, didn't you?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So Mervyn, it's been an extraordinary afternoon and superb lunch
Oh,
with us. And we met after 15 years. And
Yes.
it's great privilege that you met my daughter. My daughter met
Absolutely,
you.
it's great, yeah.
And we have so many connections in Goa, UK, Kenya, everywhere. And hope your legacy will live on, because whatever we've learned from you today, and you know the books are there. Hopefully, I and my children and others will be
It's
inspired.
wonderful. I must say, today it made my day meeting you all, Gemma, you, Antonio again. I felt I was back in Goa actually.
Yeah.
I felt so nostalgic. I must thank you and Gemma especially for bringing that lovely sardines that you prepared here and a lovely salad as well. And beautiful, So, we had a lovely meal all together.
And you can't forget Tony, because without him, none of this would have happened.
Absolutely.
The music has made our day. The music, amazing.
Watan bosan kita kotayo tinggal. Cerwa, watan bosan kita